The night my stepmother threw me out still plays in my mind like a broken record. I remember her standing in the doorway with her arms crossed, glaring at me as if I was a stranger, not the girl who had lived under her roof for years. "Pack your things," she said coldly. "You're not welcome here anymore." I was only 18, clutching my little suitcase, shaking as I stepped out into the night. I had no idea where to go, but I knew one thing for sure. She wanted me gone. I didn't even get a hug goodbye from my father. He just stood behind her, silent, letting it happen. That was the moment I realized I was truly on my own. I'm Hannah. I'm 28 now, and when my dad remarried, I thought maybe it would be a fresh start. My mom had passed away when I was 12, and for years it had just been dad and me. I missed her terribly, but I was ready to accept someone new into our family. At first, my stepmother, Claire, acted sweet. She cooked dinners, bought me little gifts, and told everyone how much she loved me. But as soon as she and my father got married, things changed. She started criticizing everything I did. My clothes, my friends, even the way I ate. Slowly, she pushed me out of my dad's world. By the time I turned 18, she had convinced him I was a burden. I overheard her once saying, "She's an adult now. She needs to learn to fend for herself. We can't keep coddling her." The next week, she found some excuse about me being disrespectful, and that was all it took. She ordered me out. My father didn't fight for me. He didn't even meet my eyes when I begged him to let me stay. I spent the first few nights at a friend's house, crying myself to sleep, wondering what I had done to deserve it. I had no money, no job, no college plan, just a broken heart and the belief that no one wanted me. But deep down, I also had something else, a spark of determination. If they didn't want me, fine. I would prove to myself, and to them, that I didn't need them. So I started working. At first, it was small jobs, cleaning, babysitting, anything I could get. Eventually, I found a stable position as a receptionist at a small company. The pay wasn't much, but I saved every bit I could. I took night classes at community college, balancing work and school until I earned my degree in business administration. It wasn't easy. I had moments where I nearly gave up. But every time I wanted to quit, I remembered Claire's smirk as she shoved me out the door, and that fueled me to keep going. By the time I was 26, I had worked my way up to managing a small team at a mid-sized firm. I was proud of myself. I had built a life from scratch, with no help from my father or my stepmother. I even bought my own apartment, a modest place, but mine. Every time I put the key in the door, it reminded me of how far I had come. And then, one morning, I walked into my office and nearly dropped my coffee. Sitting across the lobby was a familiar face. It was Claire, my stepmother. She looked thinner, older, and her eyes didn't have that same superiority they used to. She was holding a folder, clearly waiting for an interview. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but when she looked up and our eyes met, I knew it was her. By the way, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. My heart pounded as I walked past her, and she froze, her mouth slightly open. She looked embarrassed, almost desperate. And that's when it hit me. She was here for a job. At my company. The same woman who had thrown me out into the cold now needed something from me. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. But one thing was certain. This story was far from over. I couldn't concentrate the entire morning. My stepmother, Claire, was sitting out there like a ghost from my past, haunting me. The same woman who had once looked down on me as if I was worthless was now nervously clutching a resume, waiting to be interviewed by my company. Part of me wanted to storm out there and shout, "Do you remember the night you threw me out? Do you remember how you turned my own father against me?" But another part of me felt strangely calm. This was my chance. Fate had handed me the perfect setup, and I wasn't going to waste it. Later that afternoon, I got the email. Claire had applied for an entry-level position in administration. The request for final approval landed right in my inbox. My hands shook as I scrolled through her resume. She had lost her previous job 2 years ago and had been struggling ever since. Her qualifications were outdated, and I could tell she was desperate. When I called her in for a second-round interview, she didn't recognize at first that I would be the one sitting across from her. The moment she walked in and saw me behind the desk, her face went pale. "Hannah," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Yes, Claire," I said, keeping my tone professional but firm. "Please have a seat." She fumbled with her purse, clearly nervous. For the first time in my life, she wasn't the one in control. I asked her the usual questions, and she tried to answer them, but her voice cracked more than once. Finally, she broke down. "Hannah, I know I don't deserve this, but I'm begging you. I really need this job." Can you believe that? Because I almost couldn't. This woman had once told me I wasn't welcome in my own home, and now she was sitting across from me, pleading for mercy. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. I could have easily rejected her application right then and there. Part of me wanted to give her a taste of the rejection she had once forced on me. But another part of me knew there was something far better than just saying no. I smiled slightly. "You'll start at the bottom. Entry-level pay, long hours, no special treatment. If you want this job, you'll earn it like everyone else. And I'll be your direct supervisor." Her eyes widened. I could tell she wanted to argue, but she swallowed her pride and nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. The first few months were almost deliciously ironic. Claire, who once barked orders at me and treated me like I was beneath her, was now the one fetching files, answering phones, and taking instructions from me. I stayed professional, never raising my voice, but I made sure she followed every rule, every deadline. She struggled to keep up, but she never quit. One day during lunch, a coworker glanced between us curiously and asked, "Wait, Hannah, isn't that your stepmother?" Claire froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. The whole table went quiet, and I could see the shame burning on her face as I calmly replied, "Yes, the same stepmother who once threw me out of my home." No one looked at her the same after that. The humiliation was written all over her. And in those moments, I saw her differently. The arrogance she once had was gone. Life had humbled her. One afternoon, she finally admitted, "I was wrong about you, Hannah. I was cruel. I see that now. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I need you to know I regret it." Hearing that was satisfying, not because I wanted her apology, but because I no longer needed it. I had already won. I didn't take revenge in the way I once imagined. I didn't throw her out like she did to me. Instead, I let her work under me, day after day, knowing that she would never forget who held the power now. That was my justice. Looking back, I realized being thrown out shaped me into who I am today. I learned independence, resilience, and strength. My stepmother tried to break me, but in the end, she only built me stronger. So, what would you do if this were you?